Rob Hatter. You are now tuned in to the Chop Shop. I'm Retro. Let's get it. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop. Yeah, it's lit in the Chop Shop. Turn your dials up in the drop top. They ain't based in debate, but they keep it fact straight. Going 30 for 30. Let's do a first take on Facebook Live from 12 to 2. Rob Hatter and Jim Hicks going back and forth like Carter Ray and Skip Bayless and Stephen Smith. From on the court, off the court, straight to the field. Not a man that steals, but I made it steal to the octagon where I fight to kill. We go face to face, then you write your will. I don't play tennis, but I bring the racket. I'm on the floor, I attack the basket, put you in the casket when I'm overlapping. Never showing mercy, cause I'm always snapping. Never showing mercy when I'm in the arena. Step into the ring, you see me as I beat him. Step into the court, I'm never backing down. Killing competition, I'm smacking down. Let me get back to the other stuff at the Chop Shop, cause they cutting up. It's Retro coming to you live to the Chop Shop. Now let's turn it up. Yeah, we in the Chop Shop, man. Shout out to Jim Hicks and Rob Hatter. You can catch the Chop Shop live from 12 to 2 on Facebook Live. Let's get it. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop.
H-Town, what's up? You know what time it is. It's time for me to put on my hat. And it's time for the best 120 minutes of your day. The Chop Shop, the nation's #1 urban sports talk show, and also your midday sports happy hour. Yours truly, Robert Hatter, alongside Jim Hicks. We coming to you live from Houston, Texas, but we broadcasting all over the world via Facebook Live and YouTube Live. And it's a great time to stop and share your show. It's going to be one of those monumental shows today. We got history is going to be made on this show. We got history going to be on this show today. Jimmy, I'd like to shout out to the first 5 people that signed on to the Facebook feed. Let me go look at them now. And all of the 5 people who signed on first were on Facebook. It's Chris Charles, Todd Holmes, Derek Johnson, Rick Wilmore, and Rod Wells. Those are the guys that signed on first, that popped up first on the screen. They beat y'all every day. But guess what? We got Corey Willis and Derek Dews on the other side, and Jeremy Davis and Rick. Oh, Jimmy, we can go on and on and on. You know, it's just I really appreciate when we put out a call. Jimmy, I looked and several more people have joined the YouTube and subscribed to the YouTube page. Imagine, y'all, tell a friend, tell another friend. Imagine if all of our guys that are friends of ours on Facebook just come over to YouTube. So if we have a problem on Facebook, we'll still be connected. Let's make that happen as soon as possible. Jimmy, great day in sports. Great. I mean, we just always, Jimmy, first of all, thank the guests. Thank the people that we've been to Nick Anderson, who took out his time yesterday. Tierre Brown. These guys could have been anywhere in the world, but they wanted to share some things. And Jimmy, I got some more calls because they came on. I got some more guys talking about when it's my turn. And guess what? Just what I told them. Y'all got to talk to our booking people and our booking people. But Jimmy,
yeah.
Go. You can go there. Yeah.
Talk to our interns who blossom from caterpillars to beautiful butterflies, and that's the special we have for you guys on tomorrow. And want to give you a sneak peek for those who came into the Chop Shop early, and that is Nicole, Sierra, Heaven, and of course Dorian, and which we call Dodo. You guys, some of you may not have known her real name. All four would join us on Women Rock Wednesday. And the thing that's I guess that's synonymous about all of them is that college degrees after 2020 all will be college graduates, and we're going to have them to share their journeys with you guys, and that'll be a chance to provide something for them to put into their resume. And one is already working at a news station out of state. So anyway, that's on Wednesday. But today, in the back line, in the second hour, we're going to be joined by the patriarch of all African American coaches in the United States of America, and that is Leonard Hamilton at Florida State. He's going to join us. It's going to be one heck of a conversation. You guys know, remember, whenever Coach Hamilton gets that mic, we just sit back and just roll, because he goes and it unfiltered, holds nothing back, and he's promised to address many of your questions. If you have questions for Coach Hamilton, start scratching your heads, jot them down, and when he comes on, it's going to be at about the 15-minute past the hour mark of the back nine. So make sure, as Leonard Hamilton, Florida State University men's basketball coach, will be joining us. And meanwhile, what we got out there in the news? Let's go around the horn, Alan. Let's get some stuff out the way. What we got?
We got a few things going on out there, Jimmy. And hey, let me tell you something. A unique thing happening in your sport, baseball, Jimmy. Jimmy, let me tell you something. Baseball is coming across to me. The Players Association is coming, but the Players Association, I'm always side with the players. But the Players Association is become a little bit insensitive about the matters that's going on. It's going to be a revenue loss. They're going to play. The Major League Baseball proposed an 82 game instead of 160 some game schedule. So that means a lot of money is not going to be made. So what they just said, look here, y'all, we're going to do a 50-50 revenue split. And we're going to split the money, down the middle. But the players said, man, that sounds too much like a salary cap. Slow down, bruh. Slow down, bruh. We in a pandemic. Every other major sport in America has a salary cap. Understand, you've been getting away with this all this time, but understand, and Jimmy, I'm going to tell you, the public is not going to be on baseball player side this time, because it's millionaires arguing against billionaires. They're not, I understand them saying, okay, now don't try this. Now let's do this one time. But these players, the Players Association right now are, trying to play hardball, Jimmy. And I just don't think that's a smart thing right now during this pandemic.
I mean, just in case you guys don't know, I try my best to simplify the fraction on basically what's going on. Remember way back when baseball had went on strike back in the 90s, and it was because of the revenue sharing. At that time, the owners had actually approved of revenue sharing back in those early 90s. And then Major League Baseball, like in January, after the winter meetings, then in June, they were striking. So the owners have tried. And so what the players, here's the thing. When they went after the COVID-19, when it first took effect on Major League Baseball, the deal was this. This was a gentleman's agreement between the owners and the Players Association. They said that under the assumption that if the 2020 season occurs, you got me, that they'll take their prorated salaries once the games resume. The players agreed to take a prorated salary, right? Now, until May the 31st, there was a lump sum of about $170 million in the kitty to pay. But after then, prorated salaries if indeed the season begins. Well, here's what didn't happen. It's 2 months later from that agreement back in March. And the owners now are going back to the table saying, attempting to what smells like an amendment to the initial agreement. You follow me? And the amendment will include something that the Players Association has been fighting off 3 times. And that is, I don't know why, I've never talked with anybody in Major League Baseball or at least 1 or 2 different former players to get their take on exactly why they are so resistant about revenue sharing. That's the 50-50 split, or 51-49 as Major League Basketball does, a 51-49 split. Well, here's the thing. If you make the deal, the owners come back and try to negotiate, revamp the deal, or revitalize the deal, or renew the deal, whatever. And then the players now saying, it smells like they have to vote. But it smells like because the chairman, the chief of the Players Association for Baseball is Tony Clark. Remember the guys, Tony Clark played for Detroit Tigers back in the days, right? All-star, he was Rookie of the Year when he first came in the league and all that. But now Tony Clark saying like, hey, I'll quote him. He says, the negotiation over player salaries are over. So meaning on street terms, it's like saying, man, I don't hear nothing about that. We ain't even entertaining that. So now, as you saying how it's very well possible that the players, and even Justin Verlander has came out with a comment. He was like, we've already taken a salary cut. This is Verlander, who was not going to even be on the active roster to start the season. Had the season even started, he's supposed to be an opening day pitcher for the Astros. They would have hosted the California Angels in Minute Maid Park. Verlander remember, they put him on DL because he felt some tightness during spring training. He said, we've already taken a pay cut. The same Verlander who choked on in the postseason.
That ain't got nothing to do with his money, though. That ain't got nothing to do with his money.
No. He choked on us.
But you know what's so unique? I'm just watching baseball, and I understand, Jimmy. I mean, every baseball just do not want a salary cap, and I understand they don't want nothing resembling. So that means if we do this split, you gonna try to cap us at this money. They don't want that. So, but then I look around, Adam Silver. They did something yesterday. Let's go to Adam Silver in the NBA. For those of y'all who don't know what's going on in the NBA, they said he's sitting back and saying no decision had to be made in May or June. Then he talked about the fans returning and when would they be able to turn. And then he told the players, look, players, the fans generate 40% of our revenue. The fans coming in them turn 40% of our revenue. When revenue's down, Melvin Dudes, because you just asked this question, when revenue is down, player salary go down. Players going to make less. And the first thing people say, Hatter, with Melvin Dudes asked me a question. With the NBA season all but over, don't the players get all their money? Got a question with you, Melvin Dude. Let's bring it home. I'm going to put it where the chickens, the goats can get it. Let's say me and you go into agreement. We share in the revenues, you and I. So if we win, both of us win. Why y'all think when we lose, only the owners got to lose? Owners just not going to lose by themselves, Melvin Dudes. If Jimmy, if both of us win together, both of us got to be able to lose together. That's how business agreements are. That's how this business agree. You might make an agreement. Yeah, if you blessed enough to make an agreement, Jimmy, me and you put up all the money. We're gonna put up half the money, but Jimmy, you incur all the losses. That's not good business. It's not good business. So it's just it's dire times now, man. And guess what? Them guys gonna be making enough money. Jimmy. At least these guys ain't being furloughed. At least they ain't been laid off. They still getting a check. So that's what we got to understand in this business of revenue sharing, as Jimmy just speak. If you're going to share when we winning, you got to share when we losing, baby. Come on now. Jimmy, I see you talking about 25%. I don't know where it came from. I didn't comment on it because I don't know what they're talking about. And I learned not to repeat what I see on here until I figure it out. But back to you, Jim.
I was just saying the players lose 25%, I guess, from what we were just talking about. That's why I just asked 25% of what. So there's a shout out to Robin. Welcome to the Chop Shop. Hadn't heard from Robin.
That ain't Robin. That ain't Robin. Robin.
I mean, click on it and see. I mean, I'm just going to.
I ain't got time to click on it. Tell me, is that Robin?
Well, I mean, you take quicker spending this energy on it.
I can't click on this thing. I ain't clicking, Jimmy.
Never asked how much will the virus help the Astros not to have the face of the cheating scandal, right? The fan backlash with no fans in the stands. It's out of sight, out of mind. But at the same time, remember now, no matter what happens, this season is the suspension for like the former manager from the Astros who was fired. Uh-huh. His suspension ends after this season, whether they play or not. He can come back in the league. Somebody let him back in the league.
So hold up. You talking about baseball?
Yeah.
If they don't play the season, this season don't count.
Man, they
gonna play.
He's out if they don't. They gonna play something. Okay. Remember that. They gonna pitch a ball this year. You can rest assured on that. And unless it's
gonna
be
strike out like you did on that video. I'm sorry. Like you did on that video. Keep going.
I'll come back and knock it out the park on the next pitch, though, like on that video. That's what I did. But I mean, and understand, the players, as you mentioned earlier, is people are not going to be sympathetic to a lot of the players in this because the fans need baseball. I'd say every fan in the world. Fans mean a fan of the sport. Fans, they need baseball right now. Guys, understand something. The Last Dance is proving that there are people that are getting up at 5:30 in the morning, which is 6 or 3:30 in the morning West Coast time, watching these Korean professional baseball games that's coming on ESPN. People getting up watching it. And
I'm not.
I'm not. No, I haven't made one yet. Nah, I haven't made one at all. I haven't. Now, I think, don't get it twisted. If there had been a name, a very recognizable name brand guy that played in the league or played for the Astros that was over there, I probably would have rolled out at the rec and caught a couple of swings, from him. So it's and that's probably the reason. But anyway, moving on we spoke about NBA. How about this? Check this out and connect these dots out. Remember when back last fall, back in October, when Daryl Morey made those comments over in China about, right? And then, then LeBron came right, after with his, comments in the NBA. Then China made a decision to not broadcast any of the NBA games. Remember that?
Yes. So it was, and in China, and the NBA lost probably, later on, they projected to lose maybe about $250 million, as a result of that scenario. Mm-hmm. Well, here's the NBA, what they did. The NBA went and hired, right? They went and hired a guy as the new CEO of the NBA China. This guy who they hired is a Chinese national, but his family, guess what his dad did for 16 years? Guess what his dad did, Hal? His dad was the CEO of the CCTV.
He ran that for 16 years. So listen, so the NBA goes and hire his son. That means, their family is what they call influential. Right?
Good bit.
He hires him. And what do you think you should expect if you hired a son of this guy now the guy's retired, but he ran it for 16 years? What do you expect to happen? What do you expect to happen?
He's gonna have influence.
And that means you expect for China
to start back showing NBA games on TV.
Because that's politics, right?
Of course.
So on Monday, Michael Ma was named the CEO of NBA China, right?
Right.
On Tuesday, he before he had this post, he was the advisor to the Chinese Basketball Association. That's over there with Joseph Young, that league. So he was the advisor up under Yao Ming in that league, right? Well, on 24 hours after he was named the CEO of NBA China, China's CCTV issued a statement on Tuesday, 24 hours later. They says they have no intention of resuming the airing of NBA games.
And as the facts change, the truth would change.
What you mean by that?
As the facts change, the truth would change. They said of course they gonna say it now, of course. But guess what? That guy, Junebug ain't had a chance to. What's the guy's name? Who they hired? He hadn't had a chance to put his Mac down yet. Jimmy, they hired him for a reason, Jimmy.
Exactly, and so understand.
That don't mean it's gonna happen immediately. It's not gonna happen immediately. Guess what? Let me tell you something. He either gonna get the job, because evidently he gonna either get the job done, or they gonna get somebody else to get it. USA got to get that money right, man. But you know what I'm sitting up here thinking about?
Mm-hmm.
We're going through all these hoops, right? But Daryl Morey still has a job.
Mm-hmm.
He costs, I think it's a lot more than a percentage of billions. It's going to be billions of dollars. He cost us, the United States and the NBA and the Rockets a lot of money because of a tweet. And I remember people throwing tweets don't mean that. Them folks don't play over there. And that's what a lot of us don't understand, Jimmy. Being in a communist country, let me tell you something. The scariest thing about being in those countries, when you fly to those countries and you have to come back, Jimmy, it's just so unique coming through customs. You just be nervous because you don't know what might happen. What might happen? They just said, no, can't nobody get out of here no more. So, it's different. It's different. I shout out my head. I shout out and I pray for Cyril White, and he just go back and forth to China and in America with so much ease. But Robert Hatter is not thinking about going to China or Russia, and I've been to both places, and I love the places. They cool spots, but I just don't want to get on that plane and get over there in 45 and say, no, Hatter can't come back. He talked all that stuff on the show. But but yeah. So what else you got, Jimmy? Jimmy, I saw a unique take, Jim. About, since we still on the NBA, I was thinking about Harvey Gantt, Jimmy. I remember I remember the Republicans buy sneakers too. That's all people talked about when Michael Jordan said an off-cuff remark, on the bus. And Sam Smith, Jimmy, I don't know, the guy who wrote the Jordan Rules. He came back and recanted his story.
Which part?
He said that he heard Jordan say it. Then he came back, 15, 20 years later and said, no, somebody told him he said it. Sam Smith, look it up. Sam Smith recanted the story. All that years he been calling it a lie. He been living with that lie. But the reason I brought it up, not because of that, is because The Last Dance gave us a little admission. Mike had a little admission and a non-admission about what he said. And then he said he was young. But you know what I saw, Jimmy? Jordan said he didn't know to do because his mom had and you can jump in anytime, Jimmy. I'm just taking you on a little history lesson, and I'm gonna tell you how I'm gonna tie it in to Coach Hamilton, who's coming up shortly. But Jimmy, Jordan said he didn't know the guy, but his mom. You remember you and I talked about where his mom told him, you know, to endorse the guy, and Michael didn't. He said, "I'll give him some money," and I think, it's me. I think Jordan should have known who Harvey Gantt was. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. And I think we should have all known who he was. I'm mad at myself about not who he is, Jimmy. Did you know, before this thing, Jimmy, did you ever hear of Harvey Gantt?
No.
Okay. I did a little background on him, Alpha Yovezi and Jay Jackson. What's up, Jay, Martin Vaughn, and Robin Davis? The only
thing I knew back then that he was, was North Carolina, the confines that he was the mayor of Charlotte.
There you go.
And that's the only thing that I knew about it.
That's great. That's great, Jim. I like that.
First black man.
Yeah, the first black man. And how essential he was to post-World War II and post Civil Rights America, making a way for guys like Michael Jordan. Let's get in the game. Jimmy, jump in. Anyway, there is never a true context who Harvey Gantt is. If I didn't go and research what this was, all I know is he was going against this racist guy named Jesse Helms. And they were going for the Senate, the senator of North Carolina, Jimmy. But there's never was a conversation about who Gantt was. Gantz need a biography, Jimmy. Gantt does. If Jordan steps in or not, this is what I thought about, Jimmy. If Jordan stepped in and helped him or not, would he have won? But I know, but if he does, Jimmy, if he does and become a senator, check this out. The conversations about Barack Obama is different because he's older than Barack. If he won that race, he become one of the few black senators. That's one of the first black senators that's in government, right? Because Clinton wins the presidency that year, Jimmy, around that time. It was possibility that Gantt would be a VP candidate. I didn't know this. He was ranking high in the Democratic Party. He was moving up real high. We don't know this because a lot of people don't know this, but it's just when I did my math right, Jim, I just did my math about Gantt. He was the great-grandson of a slave, okay? Born in South Carolina, his grandfather was freed, born poor but worked himself up. Got to check this out, Jim. Born in 75, but works his way up. And in 1925, Jimmy, Harvey Gantt's great-granddad, owns 100 acres of land. South Carolina, okay? This is an important part of the story because, Jimmy, despite his wealth, and despite the fact that his dad worked hard and his granddad worked hard and built an empire and his land, his kids could not go to adequate schools. Help me out, Jeremy. They couldn't because in South Carolina, I believe the closest black school was 25 miles away from them. And that burned in his father, who saw his dad work that hard, and they got all this property, Jimmy, and they still can't. And this guy goes on to be the first, Jimmy, this gonna mess you up, Jimmy. Let me fast forward a little bit. He was a star quarterback. Just to help you, it's sports related. He was a star quarterback on a local high school team, Jimmy. And his dad fought for his son. Let's say like Galena Park opened that big old stadium out there. Couldn't no black teams play in it. So guess what? His dad had fought so hard, they finally let black teams play, high school teams play in the stadium, Jimmy. But guess what? They had to play on what? Thursday, not on Friday. In this big nice facility. So, I mean, Jimmy, first he was the class president. He goes to Iowa State. Guess why he go to Iowa State? Jimmy, he wanted to go to Clemson. But guess what? Clemson what? Wasn't having no black students at Clemson.
Now his wife was the second black to attend Clemson. So his wife is kind of historic.
He was the first black. He was the first black. He was the first black to go to Clemson. Hold up. He went to Iowa State first. Okay? Got homesick, and came back. And he was the first. I don't know about his wife. He is the first black person to attend Clemson. And hold up now. Graduated. Got a degree. See, y'all got to remember, back in those times, Jimmy. Yeah, keep on reading, Jim. You'll get it right. Back in those times,
yeah, you get
it. Yeah.
I just told you his wife was
I know. In addition,
person.
I know, but you
nothing wrong about that. That's correct.
No. You're gonna keep getting. You're gonna get some more. No. I like that. No, I'm not going to get. Excuse me. You'll get some more out of it. Keep reading. That's what I meant. You'll get some more out of it. Don't take it so literal. See, when you were a black student, a great student in Missouri, all over the country, what the white people would do to keep you from going to the school in their city, they would get you a scholarship out of town. Guess who was the most accommodating for black students? Iowa State in Iowa. Jimmy, Jack Trice Stadium, if you go look it up, Jack Trice Stadium in Iowa, that big football stadium out there, is named after a black man. The first guy who ever came to a black athlete who died on the field. Jack Trice died on the field in 1923 in a game against Minnesota. So they used to send him all to Iowa, but he got homesick and wanted to come back home. And Jimmy, guess how he won his fight with Clemson? He could have went to South Carolina State, Jimmy, which was a black school, but he wanted to be an architect. Jim. I'm just taking you through history. Keep going, Jim. I told you can butt in at any time. He wanted to be an architect. Jimmy, he graduated, came back to Charlotte. He was the only black official architect with an architect license in Charlotte. He was the first ever in Charlotte. This is why I'm saying Michael Jordan should have knew who this guy was now. Or not knew who he was, but you should have made your way of knowing who he was. What else he do, Jimmy? He went to MIT, Jimmy. Graduated from MIT. But guess what he said about Clemson, Jimmy? They gave him an oral, at North Carolina, they gave him an oral interview. And they asked him about Clemson University and how was his, because he was the first black there. He pointed out that Clemson is actually black. Jim, he pointed out that all the groundskeepers were black. All the janitorial people were black. All the cafeteria people were black. All of those people were African American. And they all looked out for him and looked out for his best interest, Jimmy. And guess what? That cafeteria lady made sure he had more than enough food. They were all rooting for him. They made his situation very, very manageable. And he wound up going and being the mayor. I'm going to shorten it. Jimmy, the mayor in 2 terms, lost the 3rd term. And that's when he went after Jesse Helms. In other words, Jimmy, this dude, hold up. He was a crossover. Jimmy, hold up. He just didn't get black votes. He was a crossover guy. Jimmy, he was the Michael Jordan in that era without the endorsement in the political realm. Harvey Gantt. And I'm so mad that I did not know it as a youngster. That's why they said the best education you get is your self-education. And I self-educated myself on this stuff because I kept hearing Harvey Gantt. I wanted to know who is Harvey Gantt. So Latrice, that's why I went out and gathered all. Jimmy, he was a bad man. And Jimmy, I got something else I want y'all. he was supposed to be the architect of Soul City. This was a plot of land your homeboy gave us. Oh, Jimmy, Richard Nixon, right? Your homeboy Richard Nixon. He told HUD to furnish the black development in North Carolina. That's the only thing Richard Nixon ever did. And Harvey Gantt, in other words, they was gonna have a black city with all black politicians in North Carolina. It's still there, but it never got off the ground. But Harvey Gantt was going to be the architect of that city. So that's why I said he was a very, very, very influential man in Charlotte. And Jimmy, hold up. And not just, hold on now, got something else for you. He is the one, being the mayor, that got the bonding to build that stadium, the arena that the Charlotte Hornets play in, before they even had a team. So ain't that ironic, Jimmy? He the one started the groundwork. They didn't have a team, Jimmy. The NBA didn't want to migrate to the South because guess what? They had Atlanta and they had New Orleans, and both of those teams was just all right. But he was instrumental in bringing an NBA franchise to that city, and now Michael Jordan owned the franchise that's in that city that he was instrumental in getting it. That's why it was so ironic. I don't know the man. That's why I said it.
Well, I mean, he lied.
No. He was 27 years old. He might didn't know him. He might didn't know him personally. No.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop. The way that they came out of his chest, and he gave scenario, then went on to support it, to support his statement. Mm-hmm. Michael Jordan is by saying, I gave a donation to him, like in which he did. Yeah. And then he came back a year later when the guy tried to run a rematch against the Republican opponent, and they lost by about the same margin. So, but at that time, he had a little momentum. Like I said, it's not known if Jordan would have gotten them 100,000 votes. That's about what he lost by. Yeah. But the guys, Gantz projected that he probably would have got about 40, 50,000. And then who knows what could have happened from there. Yeah. Because you got to realize at that time, Jordan had yet to win the title. Yeah. At that time. Yeah. However, Michael Jordan was the most popular, had assumed he was the face of the league. And the street cred was hot at that time. You're talking about
Jimmy, the man got 93% of the black vote. They needed Jordan to get the North Carolina, the Chapel Hill vote. That's what
possibly, yes. He possibly, depending on how visible he was, that's why I said yet to be known. But at the same time, Gantt isn't holding ill. He's not ill about the issue at all, because as it stands right now, Gantt has been a long-term season ticket holder since Jordan bought the team. He's a season ticket holder to the Charlotte team.
Jimmy, he the one got the thing off the ground. That's why I gave that history. But Daryl just said something so key, and Daryl, I absolutely agree with you. Jordan should have, if he didn't want to, Jimmy, if he didn't want to support Gantt, didn't know Gantt, I know he was a black person in North Carolina. He knew who in the hell Jesse Helms was. He should have been going against Jesse Helms. Now, how about that? Thank you, Daryl. And that's great.
So it stands and going as history proceeds down the road, those whom are on the activist side of things, on the political realm, will probably hold that and never let go of that in regards to Michael Jordan. If basketball means more to you than the politics that took place in North Carolina, then guess what? You're gonna be like, yeah, man, that's okay, but I ain't worried about that. Yeah. Michael's this, and that's how you're gonna remember and embrace it.
But Jimmy,
and that's fine.
Ron Lacewell, he from North Carolina. He said it's possible, y'all. He didn't know him. He said, I'm from North Carolina. I lived there during the Harvey Gantt political ascension. He said most of us didn't know him before the Senate run. no internet. Young folks didn't read the paper. Wilmington is several hours from Charlotte. Thank you. So Jimmy, I understand, because hold up, when you know better, you do better. Because later on, he came and hosted parties for fundraisers for Barack Obama, and nobody even really never talked about it. Nobody even never gave him no credit, because he, like I said, he didn't never talk about it unless you go and look it out. But thank you, John Newsom. It's just, y'all got to understand, when I heard that guy's name, I said, man, I got to know who Harvey Gantt is. Because I don't want to hear about the Republican by-stickers. I want to know who is this guy. And let me tell you some fascinating reading, and I would encourage, he got a museum, he got a family history. Harvey Gantt was a great, great, great man. And guess who is from that, Jimmy? Guess who is from that great state of North Carolina? Our guest is coming up in a little bit. Leonard Hamilton. So that's why I said I wanted to tie it to this situation, because it's some things I learned about Coach Ham. Hey, Jimmy, I know you know him as a coach, but Jimmy, have you went back and looked at his history?
Absolutely. I mean, I knew his history from talking with him from in parts throughout the years, and so that's.
See, you had the unique experience to have a walking encyclopedia. I didn't have that advantage. I met him a few times, when you remember when we was trying to do that transfer thing, I was going to let Robert Robert thought he was just going to go to Cornell that last year. We can transfer. I met with Leonard Hamilton because I wanted him to be with an African-American coach. He was one of the schools that we were considering. And, but I didn't, that's when I started looking up his history, mamas and daddies. When I was looking for school, in case my son was the one to transfer, which he wasn't, I looked up the history. This man, Jimmy Hicks, you got the advantage of being around two people that I know are walking history books. George Raveling and that man right there. And let me tell you something. While you got them, see, that's what I love about Damon Stoudemire. That's one of the first coaches he called all the time, him and Kevin Sampson. And I will get to him later, but Jimmy, it's going to be so much to talk about with Coach Ham. I just thought I would share that with y'all because I found it enlightening about the Harvey Gantt, the situation with Jimmy. He the one laid the groundwork for Michael Jordan to have a stadium, to buy a team, to play in it. So I thought that was a little funny. What else you got?
Well, of course, we're on the Boom Boom Room. Shout out to George Witt over in the Facebook feed. Shout out to you guys in the YouTube room as well. And we're going to ask you guys, go on YouTube, give us a thumbs up over on YouTube if you're in there, over on Facebook. Make sure you take out the time right now to share the show to your timelines and your friends. Shout out to T.R. Brown. That was a great conversation on yesterday with T.R. He's on the feed right now.
What up,
Shout out when we get right into and he's on the feed right now. Shout out to Coach Will Hammond and also Greg Wise, Lonnie Reynolds Jr., Derek Johnson, all you guys are in the Boom Boom Room. Herb Baker sitting in the garage, chilling over there on the northeast side off Cross Timbers and 59, chilling. Shout out to all you guys out there. Let's get this now. Coach Leonard Hamilton is going to join us in approximately 15 to 20 minutes. He's going to join us. We're going to have a great convo with Coach Ham, and that's going to be awesome. But speaking of basketball, we're going to entertain some NBA semi-news. It's not news, but topics. That's what we'll call it. Definitely not news. And that is your thoughts on Shaquille O'Neal's and Charles Barkley's comments towards the NBA season and as it stands. That's what the viewers want to know. What you think about, of course, if you guys hadn't seen Shaq, his opinion is that the NBA should shut it down. And he says because the winner of this season basically would have an asterisk by the champion of this season. And, and went on about the health, and he threw the health in there. You can't hardly debate that part. But what do you think about Shaq making his comment as well as Barkley?
I didn't, Jimmy. I barely watched it. I just know I don't agree with either one of them because I think it should be a season. Jimmy, what's his name? LeBron James. He's a champion. He had a lockout shortened season. We haven't put an asterisk by one of his championships. Tim Duncan won. They had an NBA strike, another lockout. Tim Duncan won. Have you said anything? Have anybody talked about, well, one of Tim Duncan's championships are tainted. They didn't play a whole season. They played 60-some games that season. So guess what? I think I don't know what's wrong with Shaq, and I don't know what's wrong with Charles Barkley. They just, sometimes they just talk. Charles Barkley done talk so much that he done talked himself out of a best friend. Well, a supposedly best friend, a guy that he done hung out with 30 years, don't speak to him no more because he get on TV running his mouth about his team that he paid all that money for. And you don't like nobody talking about your house. You don't care. Your house look good to you. You love your house. And you got some clown come talking about your house. You ain't bought no team, Charles Barkley, but you're going to talk about my team. And I understand. Sometimes you got to be opinionated and give your opinion, but not to your dues. Not to your dues. Jimmy, you asked a great, great question, and I loved it. You asked the question of Nick Anderson. That Robert Hatter wasn't going to ever answer that damn question. Ask that question to Nick. Because I lived through Nick. I know how it hurt him. I know how it hurt Penny. I know how it hurt me, him missing them free throws. I was in the hotel with him afterwards with him crying. So, Jimmy, I wouldn't dare ask that question, but it was a fair question for you to ask because you haven't been there. You follow me? So, Charles Barkley, if that's your dude, hey, Mike, I'm finna talk about your terrible ass team tonight on TV. So, so just have a heads up. And Michael is petty like that. Jimmy, he's so petty. He brought the guy who he got cut for, the guy who made the team and he got cut for, to his Hall of Fame speech and sat there in that guy in the speech. And the guy had to sit through and do that. So guess what? I think Charles Barkley and Shaq, they just talk, man. They TNT is not relevant right now, Jimmy. Guess what? Ain't no games on TV, ain't no games on. So these guys just got to talk. That's my opinion. What you think?
Well, I mean, from what I understand, Kenny Smith attempted to broker, mediate, and connect them back together, and that was unsuccessful in the first round. Time heals most wounds. So when this thing is going to take time and for it to heal, and that's just how it is with certain relationships. Obviously, because Barkley is not shying away from speaking on conversations about MJ, about LeBron, and understand he gets paid for his opinion.
Yes.
And that's another thing you got to realize now.
All money ain't good money, Jim. I learned that in the street.
Yeah, but he still get paid. His job as an analyst, so he get paid.
All money ain't good money.
Not necessary.
He don't have to analyze on that.
Well, I mean, that's exactly my point I just said a while ago. He continues to speak after saying, well, you know what, man, I didn't talk about that. I don't want to talk about that no more. I'm done with that. He continues to speak. Yeah. He has not shied away from the topic. So that means that Barkley has something that he is grinding. Like the extra grind.
Hold up. What if Barkley just as petty as Mike then? He might be the same way on us. Okay, he don't like me. Okay, I'm gonna double down.
Only time will heal that wound. I mean, that's my thought on it, not knowing, because understand something. Here's the magic question about certain type of relationships between Barkley and MJ. For people that we don't expect everybody out here, you guys are watching, have been around both of them in person. I've been around both of them in person, but not both of them at the same time. No, I haven't been around both of them in the same like setting outside of a basketball court. I've been around Barkley outside of a basketball court. I've been around MJ outside of a basketball court, not them at the same time. So I don't know, but I can only imagine that Barkley has bones on MJ. MJ has bones on Barkley. And they are both, even though, Jordan is remarried, so that's he would be grandfathered in or grandfathered out of any type of thing. And I don't expect Barkley to go there, but it's only can imagine. Not even talking about on the female or relationship side, talking about just stuff that you've done. Barkley, you can only imagine how much stuff that Barkley has been privy to alongside Michael Jordan.
Yes, and he ain't said, but I mean, I understand that. But see, y'all got to realize, I mean, the guy, I mean, I understand. I understand both of them's point of view because I know who they are. I'm just talking about Barkley. You just said it. Barkley got this certain persona, and he's selling, and he gonna sell it all the way to the end. So, hey, if that's what he do, that's what he do. I ain't gonna tell you no lie. I used to like him. I don't even. It's some of his stuff he be saying, Jim. I used to tape inside the NBA after the games. I don't even tape it no more. I really don't. And I ain't saying this because of Barkley. I just don't tape it no. It used to be a great show. It's got a lot of buffoonery in it now. And I just some of the stuff I just don't like. And it's just an inside thing. It's all right. But I don't agree with Shaq or Barkley. I want a season to happen. I want a season to happen for a lot of reasons. I want to see LeBron. See, could he get him another championship? I want to see the Clippers. Got great friends on the Clippers. I want to see that happen. I like basketball. I like basketball. I love to see those guys play, and I miss going. I miss going. I miss watching more than going, and that's why I want it. What else you got, Jim?
Yeah. Also, shifting over to college basketball. Speaking of basketball, keep the ball bouncing, and that is, I guess, saddened to see a couple of days ago that former Louisville assistant who was hired at LaSalle, Kenny Johnson, has been fired at the school after the notice of allegations came up with Louisville recently. Yeah. So it's like, and I'm saddened because that LaSalle knew the bulk, the gist of this stuff. Remember, he was fired from Louisville after the bowing, and in the wake of the federal trial, right? He was fired from Louisville. So that means LaSalle hired him. They knew in a nutshell, because in the same breath, they saw the head coach from North Carolina State, who was named in the same documents in the trial or accusations at that time before the trial. He was hired by a school in California. So we'll take him, got it. And they probably tell you if anything else comes up, or if you do anything else, you won't, first thing we hear about it, you're gone. And you say, okay. Now, this young man since then, his boss at Louisville, who was fired from Louisville in the wake of the trial, Rick Pitino, has been hired back in the collegiate ranks at Iona. No problem. Multi-million-dollar deal, right? This young man, another black assistant coach who's lost his job over this stuff. And the numbers are just, they're stacked at a very imbalanced rate. And it's just unbelievable. And I'm saddened about it. Understand? Let's say,
it's normal. I mean, Jimmy, ain't nothing changed, baby. Jimmy, that's why I keep saying we keep you get sad. We get sad about these coaches. Of course we get sad. But what can we do if we're not in a position of power to hire them? We can be sad all we want to. But if you're not the president, or you're not the provost, or you're not the AD, you're not hiring. It's not enough ADs that look like you. So we need some more ADs that look like us that might be able to hire us. How do you expect something from these other people? Wait till y'all hear from this guy, Leonard Hamilton. Y'all got to realize he's probably the only coach, if they had to go to the Sweet 16 this year, only black coach in the Sweet 16, because Tubby ain't got a chance, to be able to say that he went to high school in a segregated Jim Crow South. So he has gone from Negro athlete to black coach.
Head coach.
Black head coach. Listen to me, y'all. Y'all got to hear me. He has gone from Negro, that's what they used to call him back then, us back then. Negro athlete. But he did that, Jimmy. He did that in 5 years. He went from Negro athlete to black coach in 5 years. By the way, he did it very quickly. That's some of the stuff I was going to save for him later. But I get you. So, Jimmy, I expect that. And it's so apropos you brought that up. So, because we got the dean of this. Think about it. This guy with the segregated high schools. He lived through the Jim Crow era. Coached at Austin Peay, the first black coach at Austin Peay. Went to UT Martin, the first black student, probably the black student at UT Martin. This dude is a pioneer, Jimmy. That's why I asked you, do you know who you bring? I know he's been on the show before, Jimmy. But a wise man told me a long time ago, and I said this on the show a lot, and I tell this to you, Jimmy, to know a man, Todd Holmes, Herb Baker, you got to look at his history. When I judge you, any person, when I see you and I meet you, I want to look at your history, what you've done. I don't care. And hold up. And I want history, not his story, not the story you're going to tell me. I want to know the story that you've done. And because I tell people all the time, Alfio and Andre Branch, that if a person made A's in school, all the way through school, it's a great chance, not all the time. He can make A's in life. He have the opportunity. I love what Jimmy said, the opportunity. So, Jimmy, these black coaches, Jimmy is going to ever be like that unless we are in positions of power to hire whoever we want to hire. That's when this thing will change. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and with that have been said, we have with us, going to join us shortly, is Leonard Hamilton. And he's going to join us. But meanwhile, as he get ready to come on, I want to remind you and give you, let's help fill some of the potholes so you guys can really understand what's about to take place. Okay. And as how to just, we're giving the guy his flowers while he can still smell them.
Gotcha. And
on the Chop Shop, you guys know this is not the normal type of sports talk show. It all goes down on the Chop Shop. And if not, if not, then you're gonna get chopped up. and that's just why he called it Chop Shop. But understand, let me give you let me add some more accolades. As Haller just said, Leonard Hamilton was the first African American player to suit up for Tennessee Martin. Right? Understand something. He was the first African American coach in the history of the Big Eight. How many of you guys remember the Big Eight?
Yeah, the former right? Big 12. Right.
Yeah,
Keep going.
Big Eight. That's back in the,
Yeah.
when Houston played in the
Yeah.
Southwestern Conference.
Yes.
It was SWC. They had the Big Eight.
Yeah.
Right?
The Predators.
Understand something. This guy, from his tree, and we'll let him share a lot of the limbs that's fell, or the fruit that. Patriarch
Keep going,
of
Jimmy.
all the college coaches. Let me tell you something. This guy is I'm so down with him that from the rooter to the tutor. I'm dressed in his school colors today, guy. I got my State this. Listen, Florida State wish they had a league like this. I even got my get loose juice in that school color cup.
Jimmy, hold up, Jimmy. I got on my Nike because he got his Nike shirt. I got on my Nike shirt, so I'm with you, Coach. Keep going.
I damn near went and got some magic shade and put on my head and almost did my head like his. But I just say, no, the hell with that. I'm going to leave my hat on. But without further ado, we got with you guys. A guy, understand, led his team to the top 10 2 straight years.
Yeah.
Top 10. Led his team, understand, this past season. 26 wins, which is a school record for the regular season. Boy, I know Atlanta was about to be crunk with that Final Four if they would have got there. Understand, 5 losses this year, the fewest losses in 50 years for this program. Understand, they won the ACC championship this year for the first time in school history, guys. They picked them to finish 5th.
Yes, sir.
Picked them to finish 5th. In 3 of the last 4 years, they finished in 4th place or better. In 3 of the last 4 years. That means the change, and I said a change gonna come. Hell, the change done already came in Florida State, and he has routinely whooped up on either Duke or North Carolina. They're the pinnacles for many people within that conference. He's the thorn in their side. Throw Virginia ass in there too. He's the thorn. We're talking about Leonard Hamilton, the Leonard Hamilton. Welcome to the Chop Shop. Coach Leonard Hamilton is out with us, guys.
Hello, fellas. How you guys doing?
You can't get no intro like that, Coach. You can't get that, Coach.
Oh, you guys having fun, huh?
Man, having a ball, Coach. Coach, you're walking like I was telling the people before. Coach, you're walking encyclopedia, Coach. And I told Jimmy how blessed he is to have you as a resource. Damon Stoudemire, he called me and said, "Man, I lean on Coach Hamilton." And I mean, I'm just so proud just to be this. You know, this is not your first visit, but I'm proud to eat because I was thinking about when my son was coming out of Cornell. We thought about him just redshirting that year and get his degree and come to you. And, and Coach, I did my history on you, Coach. I mean, I did my research on you, Coach. I'm trying to be an example to other parents. Coach. We're going to give you your flowers today, Coach, but we want you to give some insight. But, Coach, it's some stuff that you've done in this industry and the things. Coach, I just can't wait to get into it. But, Jimmy, I'll let you start off because I got so much. So, Jimmy, where you want to go with Coach right now before I take over?
Well, what we do first, Coach. This past season, where were you and what's your thoughts on when they, at the time, now we can always read a book backwards, but back in March, you're getting ready to go into March Madness. You guys had, I think the ACC tournament, that is, you're getting ready to go into. What was the overall thought from you after you got news that they had postponed at that time the season?
Well, we have been extremely motivated for the last about 4 or 5 years because we felt that we had opportunity. We're knocking on the door of getting to the Final Four and winning the championship, but we just had not made it through Elite Eight, Sweet 16. We've been hanging right there. And last year, not this past season, but year before last, we were really primed to go. And Phil Kofer, our fifth-year senior, lost his father a day at the first game. My graduate student point guard hurt his Achilles in the first game, and we were extremely disappointed for that season. And so we had dedicated ourselves, and we coined the phrase that this is our turn. So our guys had made tremendous sacrifices for each other. Our chemistry was good, our culture was growing, and we were primed. I thought we were playing our best basketball at the end of the season. And we wanted to kind of recover from not being able to go to the Final Four the year before. So we were very determined and focused. But I have to admit, Jimmy, the morning that we were on our way on the bus to play a 12 o'clock game in the ACC tournament, I had a very uneasy feeling in my stomach because I didn't quite understand the magnitude of the virus and what we were going through. And we had decided that they were going to have limited people in stands, only our immediate family and a few officials. And this didn't sit right with me that we were going to play a basketball game on the court, like maybe the virus would just go sit in the unused seats and not bother the family in the other seats, or stay in the stands and not bother anybody on the floor. All those kinds of feelings, because when you're responsible for your team, the welfare, your coaching staff, there's a lot running through my mind. But I was just going to trust that the ACC upper echelon of administration would make the right decision. As we were preparing in the locker room, I told our guys, I said, fellas, this just don't feel right. But so we were actually given the pregame talk for our guys to go out and warm up for the last 30 minutes, last minute scout reports. Mm-hmm. And we were preparing when the athletic director came in and asked me to step outside of the room. Well, I knew right then and there it was going down. So I waited on the commissioner. They came in and we discussed it. But we had motivated our kids, talked about the scout report, and I thought it would only give those guys some level of satisfaction to go out and warm up, knowing that when they came back out off the floor, I was going to have to deliver them the news that we were not going to ever play the game. So we went back, when we got back in the locker room, my approach was, fellas, in life would give you what I call basketball demons that raise their ugly head. And I say these are things in life, that challenges in life you're going to have, you got to learn how to deal with. And I told them that the tournament has been canceled, and that even though they were disappointed, we had to look at the decision we made what was in their best interest. And when you think about the enjoyment that we would feel from playing and participating would be small compared to if someone went on the court and got a virus and something unfortunate happened to them. So I told them it was the best thing that they would have more games to play, and I would have more. We, as a staff, we'd have more games to coach. We had to accept this and let this be a learning experience. Then we went out on the court, and it was a very uneasy feeling that we were there representing the Atlantic Coast Conference because we had won the regular season, and that we were awarded the trophy that represented the ACC in the tournament. And so it was kind of like a foggy type of experience. You could just see it in the players' eyes. They were hurt and disappointed, but reality had set in that was a very challenging moment for us. But I thought it was a growing up, developing moment for our young people to face reality and do it with some pride and dignity.
You got something, Adam? I mean, I'm thinking, so in your heart of hearts, I mean, everybody gonna say, looking back at it, I mean, once again, this was a historic season for Florida State. As I mentioned during the introduction of you, first year ever winning the ACC, producing the most wins in the history of the basketball program, the least losses in the history of the basket. Well, in 50 years, that is, in modern day history. We're talking about 50 years, 5 decades. And was this your year?
Well, to be very honest with you, that's hard. It's hard to say, but we've been in this position now. When we lost to Michigan by 4 points when we was in the Elite Eight, I thought that was our year. I thought last year was our year. And so once you get in the NCAA tournament, you know, you can't have injuries. You can't have a 2 or 3 minute spell. But we were experienced. I felt comfortable, and I thought we had as good a shot as anybody. You know, once you get in the NCAA tournament, our system and our style is difficult to prepare for. We play a deep bench. We play a fast-paced offensive game. We spread the floor. We move the ball. We create problems that we know somebody's going to make a mistake defensively. And then on the defensive end, we pick you up 94 feet. We play hard. Keep fresh bodies on the floor. So once you get to the NCAA tournament, very few people play that way. And so we are somewhat of a challenge in a one-day turnaround. So I felt good once we got into the tournament. We could start winning games. I felt good, and I was excited about the opportunity.
Well, Coach, I want to just pivot a little bit. You know, I look at you as a pioneer in this business, and I want to talk about you as a pioneer. You know, and what black coaches had to do just to get to a spot like you. People always talk about your age, and what gets lost in this discussion is that you graduated from a segregated high school in Gastonia, North Carolina in 1966. So to give us some context, most schools, you know, back in that time, weren't fully segregated. Coach, how was it like? What was it like, Coach? Because it was telling me about, if you go to the Sweet 16 this year, you'd probably be the last coach that goes to the Sweet 16 that grew up went to high school in a Jim Crow era. Coach, you've seen a lot of stuff that a lot of these kids and a lot of these young people on this air and listen to us have not seen. So I just like to talk about you and your plight as a pioneer in this business and the things that you had to do to get where you are.
Well, I think sometimes we look at what people have accomplished at the end of their career, or maybe when they're at the height of their career, and it's hard to understand those little things that allow them to overcome challenges and obstacles and persevere, and when get knocked down and get back up. A lot goes into that mindset, and everybody wants to make progress, but nobody really wants to go through the process. And what they don't understand is that there's learning, growing, and confidence that you get by going through the process. And you have to have a little bit of toughness, a little bit of focus, patience, and sometimes you got to give a little bit to get something. I think probably the thing that gave me that my father told me 2 things. And at the time, I didn't realize how valuable these wisdom tidbits were. He said, "Don't ever let anybody outwork you." Because he said, whoever is judging you, the supervisor, the coach, he said, they might make a mistake. If you let it be close, they might make a mistake. And he said, now, as long as you're giving all you have all the time, then you utilizing the ability, the talent that God has given you to the best of your abilities, and you have to accept the outcome because you've been true to yourself in terms of your focus and your effort. And probably the most important thing that he ever told me, and I remember this like it was yesterday, on the side of my yard with him playing football with me, and he would say, "Don't come to me making no excuses." He said, "Don't come to me complaining about you being dealt with unfairly." He said, "Because you control your own destiny." Now I'm 10 years old listening to this, you know, and I don't understand what that meant. He said, if you get tired, don't breathe hard. Stand up, breathe out of your nose. Don't ever bend over. Don't let anybody ever see you see your weakness. He said, you breathe through your nose, pinch yourself, let the pain be in your finger, but don't show no weakness. And he said, don't come to me complaining. I don't want to hear no excuses because you didn't succeed. So in my life growing up, I was just trained to always give it all I had every time I had an opportunity to compete in whatever it was. And then I had nobody to come home to complain to and make an excuse for because he didn't want to hear it. So there was only really one outcome that was available to me. And then if I didn't succeed, I had nowhere to go, no shoulder to cry on. And what I found out during that process, that just stood out. Don't let nobody outrun you in sprints. Don't let nobody be earlier than you. Don't let nobody stay longer than you. Everybody got to know that you the hardest working guy that they've ever done. And I always valued that. Whenever a coach, when as an assistant coach, whenever a coach gave me an assignment, I wrote it down. And I wanted to get it done so thoroughly and so complete. And I wanted to get it as fast and as I could. I wanted that coach to say, did you get it done yet? Yeah, I laid it on your desk yesterday. You know, what I wanted to make sure that I didn't leave anything unturned, any rocks unturned, because, you know, you trying to make it. Yes, I drank at the colored water fountain. I used the colored bathroom. I had to set up in the balcony because we were not allowed to go sit in the movie. Some restaurants I couldn't go eat in, but that's okay. You know, now my father never allowed me to demonstrate and march and be a part of the movements because he was the kind of guy that was afraid if somebody hurt me, he ended up going to jail. So I did not have the freedom to participate in the sit-ins and the marches, but I watched them from afar. And I realized that he said my mother went to the 7th grade, my father went to the 9th grade. And he said there were things that he could not do because he wasn't educated. And that even though he was a brilliant, almost close to being a genius type mentality, he was a truck driver and scored almost maxed every test he ever took. My mother went to the 7th grade, he went to the 9th grade. And he just said to me, you have to get your education. And another thing he said, I don't have 1 cent to help you get your education. So I had to figure it out, how to get my own education. But I also had 3 brothers and a sister behind me. So I had to set the table for them because I realize now that, you know, I had an obligation to set the standard by which my family would be judged by. So me going to school, and I've always told everybody, my steps have always been ordered by the Lord. No question about that. I was getting ready to join the Army when they started a community college the first year in my hometown, right outside my hometown. Now, I could have been in Vietnam, but instead of going to Vietnam, I went to Gadsden Community College because the coach taught me into going to college as opposed to, and not going to the Army to get the GI Bill to pay for my education. First tidbit, I go to UT Martin. Now, I didn't realize I was going to be the first black basketball player when I got there. I didn't realize that.
Right.
All I wanted to do was get my education.
Right.
So that was a tremendous opportunity. So then I was going to join the Marines, and my coach said, no, I'm going to get you in reserve. Now, can you imagine going to the Marines during the Vietnam days, what that would have been like? So, but it's almost like the man up in the sky said, no, we're not going to either one of those. We're going to get you a graduate assistantship at Austin Peay. Now, I had no idea about going to graduate school, but that's where I was led. Right. And then after being at Austin Peay for 3 years, I became discouraged because I didn't think I was going to have an opportunity to become a head coach because I was African American. I resigned my job and took a job with Dow Chemical in Charlotte, North Carolina. Yeah. What happened? I go from being discouraged to Joe Hall calling me on a Monday, my first day on the job, and asking me to come for an interview at the University of Kentucky. So I go from being out of coaching, being discouraged, they're taking an assistant coach job at the #1 winningest basketball program in the history of college basketball. That's why I say my steps been ordered. You know, understand what I'm saying? In other words, that wasn't Leonard Hamilton. That was not. That was just. I'm doing what my purpose on earth is supposed to be. So I enjoy every day. I'm excited every day. I love working with young people, and even though I spend a lot of hours, I know that my job is to help them have a better way of life. I don't get excited about the accolades and the trophies and the Coach of the Year awards. What I look forward to when those guys call me on Father's Day, when they send you a Christmas card, when they want you to be in their wedding, the godfather of the kids, that's what excites me. So I'm doing what I love to do. Those awards and the things that I've been able to accomplish, I know that the good Lord upstairs has ordered my steps, and I'm going to do it as long as he wants me to do it. And I enjoy it every day. And we just getting started.
Wow. What you got, Jim?
Oh man, and we going right on through. And of course, Coach, you mentioned earlier you was talking about your system and the players, and you mentioned about 94 feet. You pick up on defense. What's your offense? Because I've heard so much, and I'm not the X and O guy, but it's so intriguing to hear about this Florida State offense. Can you describe, because there's a lot of basketball aficionados that are watching, coaches, players, parents that are watching. Describe your offense to the viewers at Florida State.
Well, you probably, most of the time, my career, people have said I was a defensive-oriented coach. My teams have led the nation in field goal percentage defense 3 times. I mean, we've held people to like 36.7% field goal percentage defensively, which is really, really getting it done. There's been only 2 teams in the history of the NCAA that has led the nation in field goal percentage defense 3 times in a row. That's Wyoming and Georgetown. We were on pace to do that ourselves. So when I said that, let you know, our defensive philosophies are very sound. Where we overplay all the wings, we overplay the elbows, we dead front the post, we pick up 94 feet, and we pressure everywhere. I wanted to have a system that my defensive system, I wanted to have an offensive system that my defensive system would have problems defending. And so over the years, we've kind of evolved. When I first got into coaching, I had to craft my offense to match what talent I was able to get. Now what I do, I recruit the offensive players to the system that we feel like is best for us. And so our offensive system, we spread the floor. We play very similar to a lot of the NBA teams out of Golden State, San Antonio, where they spread the floor, play out of corners, a lot of ball screens, a lot of read and react type situations, as opposed to the conventional throw the ball into the post, back everybody down, look to the coach, call a lot of plays. We have more of a system where it's directed by the pass and the cut that we make. And it's hard to get everybody on the same page. But our guys play free. They remove the ball. We try to make 230 passes a game. The more passes we make, the more points we score, the higher percentage shots we get. We had 11 different players lead us in scoring this year. That's very unusual. On most teams, they have the same guys scoring all the time because their system is geared toward that. In our system, everybody gets a touch. We feature everybody. As long as they play within themselves, play to their strengths, and we play to each other, it normally works. So it's kind of a free-flowing, and it comes from a lot of different angles, and it's very difficult to prepare for. And our kids enjoy playing. They actually feel that if they move the ball and make the pass, somebody's going to get a great shot. And they feel that if they play unselfish and they play to each other, each one of them going to get a high percentage shot, and so everybody's going to be able to participate. Everybody's involved. Everybody gets a touch. And so it's a little different than what you normally see college basketball is about.
And what we do now is we have I see an abundance of questions that are backlogging in the Boom Boom Room. That's what we call our social media platforms. Coach, we streaming live on YouTube as well as Facebook simultaneously, and people posing questions. And one is from MPEX. He's on the YouTube feed. Shout out to MPEX. He says, please ask Coach Hamilton his opinion of Georgia high school basketball.
Well, Georgia high school basketball has been totally off the chart. I mean, it's amazing to me how many basketball players every year come out of there and they're being successful. It seems like areas of the country seem to produce, it kind of goes in cycles. Many years ago, it was D.C. Many years ago, it was New York City. Then it was Detroit. But Atlanta's been on a run now for almost the last 20 years where every year you got pros coming out of there. It's been amazing. And our best players have come out of Tony Douglas, Chris Singleton, Al Thornton, all those guys. I mean, now we got MJ Walker, Devin Vassell. All our best players have come out of there. Alexander Johnson, guys who have gone on and played in the NBA, first round draft pick, and that's just the ones that have come to Florida State.
Yeah,
not the ones that have gone to Auburn and Georgia Tech and other schools around the ACC. It's been a hotbed for basketball for many, many years, and I have a tremendous amount of respect. And we always will be looking under more rocks in the Atlanta area. That whole region has really, really been special as it relates to basketball and football as well.
And so another question is from Melvin. He says, Coach, you spoke about your offense and your system. Do you recruit defense, or do you feel that your system just make good defenders?
Well, I think everybody can play defense. I mean, I don't necessarily feel that defense is really a frame of a state of mind. If you're quick enough and athletic enough to play offense, there's no reason why he can't play defense. And so we have very little problem with our guys defending, but that's part of winning. If you don't defend, you're not going to win. The three things that we ask our guys to do that are must: we want to defend, play unselfish, and play hard. And we very seldom have to complain about bad shots. I don't coach effort. If I have to coach effort, then you're not going to get on the floor. So, and a lot of defense is effort and concentration. Our defensive system is predicated on you just executing and doing the same thing over and over and over correctly. So if you're quick and fast and athletic to play offense, then you can be a good defensive player. On the offensive end, I like to say that we try to recruit good students with high character, and we want them to have skills. Now, I have to admit, I'm in a position now where we try to recruit the type of guys that will be comfortable and fit into the system that we have. I try to be fair with a youngster. It doesn't make sense for me, to recruit guys who maybe might not be skilled enough to operate in our system. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to us. In many cases, you have a very talented guy who probably could go on and be an NBA player, but his skill set might not match who we are and what we're about. So we try to match what we do with the guys' ability who we're trying to recruit.
And how do you got questions on the Facebook feed?
No, I'm not. I'm gonna let you go with the Facebook and look at them, because I got a question for him in a historical context. Let's just get these questions. They talking about one guy, Daryl Garrett says, how does you choose coaches to be on your coaching staff? Does you look for coaches with little experience, or what, or none? Little experience, or you want to mold them or something like that? Yeah,
I've done both. Okay. I've had high school coaches. Coach Jones has been with me almost close to 25 years. Coach Stan Jones, and he was the head coach of the Jackson Academy in Jackson, Mississippi when I hired him. Charlton Young is an experienced guy, and that brings a lot of energy and personality to my staff. Steve Smith was a very proven guy from Clemson who has done a tremendous job for me. My weight training and conditioning coach has been with me over 20 years. He was at the Army when I hired him. Dennis Gates who was my assistant, who's now the head coach at Cleveland State, was a graduate assistant in my program. And the infield, who I hired, who now the head coach at Southern Cal, didn't have that much experience as a college coach, and I brought him in. I just evaluate people, and I use my best judgment. I've always had a pretty good ability to recognize personalities and character, and so I kind of go with my gut feeling. And if those guys who are looking for coaches, who are looking to be coaches, I would just encourage them to really, really become students of the game, because when you really become a student of the game and you understand not all about the X and O's, it's about learning how to communicate, teach, and develop youngsters, being patient with them and not always expecting them to be perfect when you get them, just to have a spirit in your heart of taking teenagers and helping them grow into young adults, helping them understand what it's like in terms from a work ethic standpoint, not ever compromising the academic prowess of kids. Understand that's the sacrifice you got to make. If you have all those qualities, a guy is going to recognize it of you. Sometimes you have guys looking for jobs, but they're not. When you sit down and talk with them, you recognize the fact that maybe they need a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So I would just encourage people to try to be as thorough as you can with understanding not only the X's and O's, but how to communicate with youngsters, how to help them develop, and having your heart that you're serving. Most of the time, when you know how to go serve people, you know, you develop a reputation of honesty and integrity, and guys respect that.
That's awesome. I got another one, Coach, and you got one, Jimmy. Rick Wilmore said, would you take another crack at the NBA if offered the right job? Are you planning on retiring in the college ranks, from the college ranks?
I do plan on retiring in the college ranks.
Okay.
So I look at it like this. The NBA does not need guys like me. They need guys who obviously is better suited in that level. I am better suited for taking youngsters and trying to help them grow and mature. Gotcha. That's what I enjoy doing. Okay. I'm impatient with young people. You know, I'm proud to say I've been in Florida State now for 18 years, going on my 19th year. I've only had 3 kids not graduate. To me, that's more satisfying than anything else. Wow. And I was at Miami for 10 years, and I only had 3 not graduate. So in 28 years, I've only had 6 kids not graduate. Now, to me, that's more important than just about anything that I've done, because you know how it is. Most of the kids we get, it's their first generation college students. They change the whole culture of their family by them going and getting an opportunity to earn a scholarship, get their education. So when a family or a parent trusts you with their most precious commodity, their child, you got to take that seriously. And you got to take that child and treat that child like you'd want someone to treat your child if your child was with them. So I take that seriously. So my job is to take teenagers and usher them into young adulthood. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that these guys benefit from every little bit of wisdom and experience that our staff has, so that they can have a better way of life. My education has given me a tremendous opportunity. The fact that I've been able to work in college and to make a decent living has provided for me and my family. I want to make sure everything I got, I give to the guys who come into my program, but I owe that to the parents who entrust their children to us, and I want to make sure that I earn their respect by giving them everything and living up to exactly what I told them I would do.
Jimbo?
Now, Mark has a question about you in your recruitment. You mentioned about how you recruit certain players and recruit, but you have kind of like an African pipeline that you and your staff had over at Florida State. And tell us, because Mark is from, his family is from Africa, And he's want to know, name some of the African players that you had over the past few years in your program, and how did
Well,
you
I
you
had
get that
Yahweh when
pipeline?
I was at Miami,
Uh-huh.
Solomon Alabi
Uh-huh.
at Florida State, Uche Echefu, Michael Ojo. I have Chris Kamaji, who was at 76ers. Fiondu Kamagele is with the Clippers. But I've had a lot of international players. Constantine Popper from Romania. Gosh, I had him from England, Portugal, South America, Canada, Lithuania, Serbia, Poland. I've had kids from all over the world. I've taken over programs that always need a little fixing up,
Yes.
develop. And so sometimes when you take over a program and you in a conference with blue bloods, like going to Oklahoma State
Yeah.
with Kansas and Oklahoma being on top of their game, going to
Right.
Miami with John Thompson at Georgetown, Connor Sucker at St. John, Boeheim at Syracuse, Massimino at Villanova. Wow. I mean, you just had the best of the best. So I was not going to be able to go and recruit the same level of talent with all those rich, traditional, successful programs. So I had to look under more rocks. I had to be creative because at the end of the day, I was not going to be able to say, well, there's not enough players around here, so we're going to lose this game. People don't want to hear that. So we look under rocks all over to circumvent, the system that we were in and what we had to do to win. So what has happened is over the years, we've developed a network on an international basis as well as a national basis, and we fill in with where we need to with players that we feel that can help us do positive things at whatever school I've been at.
And Coach, I want to go again because I know we got questions, but I want to go again because we have you on this show from a historical context, Coach. It was interesting to me just studying it up and learning about you over the years. It was an interesting thing, Coach, that you went from Negro athlete to black coach in 5 years. Now, I know that's a very loaded term for me to use, Coach, but I like for my listeners to know how that happens. What does it mean to be a black coach?
I take a lot of pride in who I represent and where I'm from. I'm not going to ever forget that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that it's not where I come from in order for me to be able to set the table for the guys who won't be living in the era that I had to endure.
Mm-hmm.
I have to prepare them not only for what's going on now, but for the future. So I can't walk around with my feelings on my shoulder, talking about where I've been and what I've done. I have to prepare these kids for where they're going. And so, but I got to utilize the what I've learned, the wisdom that I've gained through the struggles and the journey to realize how precious success is and how elusive it is and how hard it is to obtain. And that so many youngsters along the way have great intentions. They want, like I said earlier, they want to make the progress, but don't understand the value of the process. And everybody wants to go out the door, but they don't want to take the steps. They want this all of a sudden. It's instant. It's fast food. Everything is instant, fast. I want it right now. And so I have to find a way to encourage youngsters to realize their dreams, but the proper way to obtain it. And so it's a moving target. Everybody's different personalities from different homes. Some kids are motivated by different things. So my point to you, as I try to develop youngsters, I realize that I got to prepare them to go through, in order for them to be successful, to go through things and overcome obstacles. And that there's a time of growing and developing. Now, one of my favorite passages in the Bible is the book of James. Okay. The first chapter, second, third, and fourth verse. You count it all joy in times of diverse temptations, because the testing of your faith builds perseverance. Now, God didn't tell you he'd keep you from all hurt, harm, and danger, but he would give you the strength to endure. There's time of learning and growing during the trials that you go through. So you count it all joy when things are going good, but you also count it all joy when things are not going good. So now it's time for you to learn, grow, and develop, and you be strong as a result of overcoming the struggle. So what I'm saying to you, I've had to have all that. That's why, by growing up, never living more than 50 yards from a church, every time the door opened, we were in it. I actually really could sing with the choir from my bedroom on my back porch. Literally, I could get to my seat in church in probably less than 2 minutes. But if I ran through the little path, because I didn't live on a street, I lived on a path. You know what I mean? And so I could run through between those houses and get there real good, real quick. Right. If I didn't step on the dog dookie, in the yard, trying to get to the church. You know what I'm saying? So, but my point to you is that with that type of upbringing, I think that I have a solid foundation of really caring. So my point to you, it was a little bit challenging not being able to go to restaurants. Mm-hmm. Us go to certain restaurants with all my brothers and sisters. Before, was sitting in the back seat. My three brothers and my mom and my sister and my dad sitting in the front seat, and we had to go up to the restaurant and get our food served through a little cubicle on the side of the building. That was tough. But it taught me humility and patience, and never allow myself to get discouraged, because you had to understand how to overcome things. And so I'm always looking for ways to teach and develop young people. So I think that instinctively, I don't get emotional one way or the other. And when we have success, I don't get overly excited. And when we don't have success, I don't get down, because I realize that at the bottom line, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I want to do my job justice by giving all those types of wisdoms, tidbits to my kids to fall under me, so they can have a better way of life. And I want them to get their education, learn how to conduct themselves, because I think that a lot of how people perceive you has a lot to do with your success.
Indeed, Coach. Man, hey, Coach, you hitting that thing out the park today. Coach gonna make me go and crack open my Bible, boy. I'm gonna have to go. Hannah, we're gonna Bible study today right here with Coach.
Coach, I got to go back and watch this again.
So now, Coach, want to ask you, got a question I'm gonna combine, which I know Coach is showing y'all. That's a nice office right there, Coach.
Oh, yeah.
That's nice.
Coach,
now,
Coach, center yourself a little bit, Coach. Coach, we see half of you. There you go. There you go.
Now,
okay.
Coach, what do you think about college players of today that want to transfer because they want success so quickly? And also combine that with what are your thoughts on the current state of grassroots basketball?
I think grassroots basketball is probably the best thing that ever happened to the African American community and to the basketball community overall. Okay. You very seldom ever hear of anything happening bad when kids are playing summer ball, when they're traveling, playing in tournaments. I think that you keep kids out of trouble. You don't have no gang banging. You don't have no issues, other than maybe you might have a little disturbance every once in a while. But it's been a beautiful thing to keep these kids active and tied up all summer. And I think that what has happened is summer basketball and grassroots basketball has gotten a bad name, and I don't understand why. Because grassroots basketball has given some kids, some underprivileged kids, some kids who otherwise would not have been evaluated, an opportunity to go to college to get their education. And to me, that's not any money. That's not anything that you can place a value on that's more important than these guys getting exposure, getting their education, and having the opportunity to realize the dream. But what has happened here recently, we have confused the mission. Everything is amateurism is okay. Amateurism is opportunity for guys to go to school and get their education and better their lives. We have about 5,200 youngsters that play Division I basketball. Now, only 20 or 25 jobs become available every year in the NBA, and I'm using that number liberally, okay? Because most of the time it's maybe about 15, but I'm gonna say 20 to 25. But as of late, everything is being geared toward one and done, two and out. Now, we and I'm answering this question because that's what's was spearheading all these transfers. Everybody is chasing a pot at the end of the rainbow, and they can't find the rainbow, and there's no pot. You know, everybody's trying to, all 5,200 of those Division I basketball players, every one of them trying to get to the NBA. And you know as well as I do, 98.5% of them gonna be working at some point in time like the rest of us. Now, but what I like about it, the NBA now is providing an opportunity for the elite. Now, the elite should have an opportunity to go and realize their dream.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
I am a little concerned that now it appears that there's a movement to go on college campuses after a kid has already signed. Now, that needs a lot more discussion. I don't want us to upset the model, but you want to give kids who are not interested in going to school an opportunity. Somewhere along the line, there has to be some cooperation with all of us so that we don't kill the goose that laid the golden egg. I think that grassroots is where it all starts. Now, we've had some problems in grassroots. There's no doubt about that. But last I checked, you have problems in our judicial system. You have the jobs in our political system. We have problems in our medical system, in our technological system, in our industry system, in our banking system. So, just because, in all due respect, we've had problems in our religious system. So, we don't stop going to church because somebody does something wrong. We don't stop putting our money in the bank because somebody embezzles some money.
Wow.
But so if someone makes a mistake, unfortunate, in the basketball world, now all of a sudden everybody's bad and everything's corrupt and we all getting the black eye. That's not the way it is. I'm saying to you, grassroots basketball is live and doing well. And I like to see maybe it regulate a little bit better. I like to see maybe high school, grassroots, college, NBA, junior college, NIA. I like for us to come together and come up with a plan that we all feel good about and address whatever issues we have so we can keep this thing going. But right now, I feel like we're under siege. I feel like we got issues over here and issues over there, and we don't have a voice. We don't have a voice for college basketball, and we don't have a voice for basketball, period. It seems like now we all kind of divided. We all kind of going our separate ways. And I think that if we can put somebody on the moon, I think we ought to be able to come together and organize ourselves and come up with a plan that make grassroots basketball even a little better. Now, about the transfers, it's gotten to the point now where it's gotten totally out of control. When you have 1,000 kids almost transferring a year, that's problematic. Now, they've done statistics on the number of kids transferring in relation to some of those kids who have trickulated onto the NBA. It's very minimal. And most of the kids who transfer do worse where they transfer than they do where they came from. So the problem is, and then even academically, a lot of guys transfer are doing worse academically, the ones that transfer. I just wish that we had, once again, sat down, let's have some more conversation about governing this. Now that they're discussing you can transfer and be eligible immediately. I got a problem with that. I think when coaches leave, I think maybe that should be a rule that the kids could leave, because the most time they go as realistic coaches. We can come up with some rules where kids don't get left out, where they're not put in a tough spot. And there might be some reasons why kids should transfer, but not 1,000. That's problematic. And we got some things that need to work on, but there's more good going on in grassroots basketball. And college basketball, I think, has been really good. But I think right now, it's like a lot of things, we have so many different committees that govern so many different things. And a lot of times, the coaches and our issues and our input is not in as much. I think everybody's intentions are good, and I think that we have a great organization, but I think it all can be tweaked a little bit and improved.
And of course, we see breaking news that Hatter is just posting on the screen. That is, the NCAA has canceled the college basketball academies for 2020. And also, other breaking news is want to give a shout out to a great supporter of the Chop Shop, a good friend, and that is Mo Williams is expected to be named the new head coach at Alabama State. And once again, Mo Williams expected to be named the head coach at Alabama State. Remember, spoke about grassroots. Mo Williams he got it out the mud. He went in and invested his time and resources into grassroots about 5 to 7 years ago, and got up out of there, took an assistant job at Cal Northridge, and now he's expected to be a head coach in the SWAC. He's from Alabama. For those guys that don't know or not familiar, remember Mo Williams, just the guy who played alongside LeBron James and among other teams in the NBA. Now, Coach, what advice would you give to a young coach out there who's aspiring to come up the ladder? Remember you saying earlier there's no face, but right now, I mean, one of the things is the anointing. You are the patriarch of African-American coaches in collegiate basketball as it stands right now today. Now, the thing is, our job on platforms of such as the Chop Shop is to introduce you to them periodically so that they won't forget, and that way they can refresh themselves with their knowledge to understand what makes you tick, where you come from, and why you are headed in the direction that you're going. That's what our platform is serving for you. And also, we do what we can to let people know and not let your candle blow out. So again, what advice do you have for young coaches out there who is aspiring to go through the ranks but really don't understand how the politics go in this stuff?
Well, I would say this. I would really encourage him to develop some relationship and have some mentors to help sort out some of those things that he has not been exposed to. I always tell people, when selecting a school for your first time is challenging, something you never had done before. Picking your wife and getting married, something you've never done before. You're trying to learn how to do something that you've never done before. It's hard to try to get to a place when you've never been. And sometimes you take over a head coach job. It's almost virtually impossible as your first time to understand how important it is to evaluate your staff and put your staff together. It's also important to understand how to relate to the academic community, how to develop the relationships with the coaches in the area to help you. And sometimes being the transition from being assistant coach to the head coach, sometimes it can create a little more challenges. I had George Raveling, I had John Thompson, guys who had walked a mile in my shoes. And it's very interesting, the times when I got myself in binds, I would call those guys and I would gain wisdom from them. Now, I was hired at Oklahoma State by a guy named Mon Roderick. And, I came from Kentucky where we had plenty of players, All-Americans here, All-Americans there. If a kid crossed the line, I could discipline him. Sometimes we let him play. Sometimes, we do. I put one All-American on the bench and I put another one in. So my first game at Oklahoma State, I had curfew, and two of the players, when we went and checked curfew, were a little late getting there. So when we came back around, they both had jumped in the bed but they had the shoes on. So I know they was a few minutes late. You know, they was trying to get there. Okay.
Right.
So my inexperienced first head coach job, I go into the next day, and I told the athletic director, who had been a head coach and the wrestling coach for 36 years, and he said to me, I said, I might have to set these two guys. I want to set my discipline. I want to set the tone for my first game. Let everybody know I mean business.
Right.
And so I know he's sitting there saying, man, I don't know who I done hired here. He don't understand the name of the game is winning. The guys were just a few minutes late for curfew.
Right.
And so he very calmly said to me, you know, Leonard, there are different ways to discipline kids without them missing the game and jeopardizing the whole team. It's like he reached across the desk and slapped me on both sides of my face and said, bam, bam, you inexperienced rookie.
Yeah.
You know, I want discipline, but hell, they're just a few minutes late. So I got him up in the morning of the game, and I ran the dog out of him about 5 o'clock in the morning, and we won my first game by 20. My point to you, but my inexperience
Yes.
from being in the business,
Right.
but me having a older, experienced coach to communicate with helped me, gave me his wisdom. And I'm saying to you, when you're dealing with young people and you're dealing with issues as a coach, it's impossible to have to learn how to deal with all of them. So you need to have somebody that you can call on that can help you sort through some of those things. And I would be careful to hire some experienced people, you know, that maybe an older guy who'd been in the same situation. I would do whatever I had to do to surround myself with people that could help fill in the gaps of what I didn't like, what I lack.
Hey, Coach, I can't let you lead this show, Coach, because a lot of people probably don't know this, Coach. But in my studies, Coach, you recruited James Fly Williams to come all the way from Brooklyn to come to UT Martin. I'm from Memphis, Coach, so
No,
I remember.
Austin P.
From Austin P. Coach, I remember this dude. I think he averaged about 32 points in high school. I think he was a lead scorer in the nation. Coach, you developed, check this out. You developed a reputation as an awesome recruiter. Think about this, Coach. Coach, somebody said, you got to help me with this myth. It might be a myth, Coach, or a legend. Somebody said you used to recruit guys. When you had him, you was recruiting him, you were introducing yourself as his cousin Al.
Yeah, well, he would introduce me as his cousin Al.
Okay.
Now, to be very honest with you, I got to tell you this story because that's why I always tell you guys that my steps have been ordered by the man upstairs.
Okay.
This was my first recruiting trip. I had never been to New York in my life. I did not have a credit card. I didn't even know how to rent a car. That's how green I was.
Okay.
I was a few months removed from playing basketball at Tennessee Martin.
Right.
So in other words, the full-time assistant coach became ill at Christmas and had to resign. I was a graduate assistant, married with a child in graduate school. In April, I asked my head coach, will you let me go on the road recruiting? Well, understand, I'm on a team where I'm coaching players that are older than me. So he gave me money, and I made reservations to go to New York. I had never been to New York in my life. So I pulled up in New York LaGuardia Airport, and I wanted to rent a car, and the lady said, let me have your driver's license and your credit card. I said, ma'am, I don't have a credit card, but I got cash. Well, she looked at me like I was a green country bumpkin, which I was. I didn't have no clue of what I was doing.
Right.
So I got in a taxi, and he took me to a hotel. But I told him, say, take me to a hotel close to this place. Well, it was a hotel where all the drug addicts hang out.
No.
And then when I went to the gym, they told me how many people had been murdered there the week before. That's the hotel I had moved into. Anyway, so I ended up listening to all these guys and developed a relationship with a guy that first night there and asked him would he help me recruit to New York City. So the next day, I was supposed to meet the guy in Central Park. He told me to take the L to the Z and cross over here and do this. Well, man, come on, man.
I don't understand.
I'm from Gastonia from UT Martin to Clarksville, Tennessee, and I'm in New York trying to catch the subway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So I finally get to Central Park as they were leaving the restaurant that I was supposed to meet them at, and I was an hour and a half late.
Wow.
I saw them leaving,
Uh-huh.
and he was a guard named Danny Odoms who had gone to one of the prep schools. They waited on me. I talked to the guard for 15 minutes. I talked to the guy he was with. He said he'd come and visit. He was Fly Wynn's best friend.
Okay.
So that night, I was supposed to go to Fly's house to meet Fly.
Uh-huh.
He was at Glenn Watkins Academy up in New York. So I went to Fly's house about 7 o'clock. Fly was not home. 8 o'clock, Fly was not home. 9 o'clock, he had not got there. And the guy I was with said, look, I got to go. So now I'm in Brooklyn, New York. And believe me, I was stepping over people going up the steps. I wasn't about to leave out and go in the streets. Didn't know where I was and what I was doing. Actually, I was a little scared. So I said, well, I'm just going to wait on Fly. He said, okay. 10 o'clock, Fly wasn't there. 11 o'clock, Fly wasn't there. Now, it's me and Fly's mother in the house.
Wow.
Be honest with you, she didn't know me, but I was talking about collard greens, watermelon. We were talking about fatback meat. We were talking about canned vegetables. We were talking about everything. So at 12 o'clock, she had to go to the bathroom. She went to the bathroom at 12. I turned the clock back to 10. I didn't want to know what time it was. I literally stayed up all night long talking to Fly's mother. Fly got home at 7:30 the next morning. I had talked to her for 12 hours.
No.
I waited on him. And when he came through the door, me and him was tight ever since. We just instantly related because I was young. I mean, like I'm a young dude. I'm 23 years old on the road recruiting, so I looked like I was that.
Yeah.
So I figured if anybody know who I was, then I could hang around and always listen. I wouldn't wear Austin Peay clothes. Is it he and I was hanging out with him all the time? And so when other college coaches would talk to him, he would say, I can't talk to you without my cousin. And so he'd say, cuz, come on. I actually sat in while other college coaches made presentations to Fly, and I never told them who I was. It was my first year in the business. Nobody knew me. I wasn't trying to do anything else. Sat there. That's a true story. And Fly averaged 27 points and 9 rebounds a game as a freshman. He got 51 twice as a freshman. Wow. He was a phenom. And so you can't say that I knew what I was doing. Okay. So you can't say I was experienced.
Right.
That's when I tell people my steps have already been ordered. How do I go somewhere I had never been before and sign 2 kids, one break the conference record as a freshman in assists. The next one the other one led the nation in scoring. Hey, so I'm at peace. I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and that's a true story right to the nth degree. That was my first recruiting trip, and I recruited him, and I really didn't recruit him. We just hit it off, and we just related, and he wanted to be with me.
Coach,
it's crazy.
Coach, Jimmy, I know you got, but Coach, I want to piggyback off Coach, these people, a lot of people don't know this. That's Fly Williams, but they say you also brought Sam Bowie, Kenny Skywalker, Goose Givens, and Winston Bennett to Kentucky. Coach,
Melvin Turpin.
Coach, Mel Turpin. Yeah. Coach, you a legend. Hey, y'all go Google them names. Jack Givens, Mel Turpin, Winston Bennett, Kenny Skywalker, and Sam Bowie. Coach, this is unbelievable that a lot of people, Coach, you've been doing it so long and so great, people just take you for granted. But guess
Dirk
what?
Dirk Minifield lives in Houston. He's one of my me and him like brothers now. We used to be his coach. Now we hanging out together. Me and Dirk. Y'all know Dirk Minifield.
Yeah, that's my man.
Right there in town.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my point to you though is this. Austin Peay gave me an opportunity to be part of a new high school coach coming in and starting this program. So that was a platform I needed to go in and be able to contribute and learn, make my mistakes right out of college. Going to Kentucky, I had an opportunity to learn and grow how do you do it at the top, at the best. So I understand how to start one. I understand how to maintain one, and all that. But my steps are ordered once again. But the opportunity to go Kentucky, they were winning before I got there. You know what I'm saying? So my point to you, to be a part of helping contribute the legacy that they have was a tremendous opportunity. But the academics, the way they travel, the intensity of the games, the pressure that you had to be under to execute and perform on a daily basis, not only as a player but as a coach, I thought helped prepare me so that I would be much better prepared when I got the job at Oklahoma State and Miami and here at Florida State. So my point to you, I've been in situations that not necessarily created by me. Whenever I tried to mess up, I always had that hedge of protection around me that edged me back in the direction I was supposed to be in. And to have those unique opportunities, but in order to be successful, goes back to the moral compass that my mother and father gave me at an early age. Do unto others as they do unto you. Treat people right. Be honest with people. Work hard. Don't make any excuses. Try to be prepared. Respect people. Give your best every time you have an opportunity. Those little tidbits allowed me to be prepared when I had those opportunities to at least be successful. And the fact that I was able to integrate different parts of different situations, I thought that I was prepared, not knowing that I was prepared, but I thought the patience that I learned from my mother and father, the hard work, the effort, not getting overly excited when things don't go well, I thought helped me be prepared to deal with some of those situations where I had to integrate, and it wasn't always easy.
Hey, Coach,
I had to give you that one on that, Coach.
We're getting to land the plane, Coach. I have to ask you your thoughts on the name, image, and likeness topic. And what's your stance on athletes getting paid? And who would this likely not benefit?
Okay. I have mixed emotions for a simple reason. The amateur model has worked for 98% of everybody who's gone and gotten a scholarship. And am I right there? 98%? Because we're talking about opportunities for the elite. Yeah. And the elite is 3 to 4 kids per year. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know how we create this, how we do this when you I don't know how you manage that on a college campus where it might be different locations. One area of the country might have medical and technology and industry and movies and banking and insurance, where might have more opportunities to be able to provide those because of the climate of where they are. You might have some schools in a rural area where maybe they might not have the same advantages. So I think amateurism, the level playing field, is good. And we're only talking about the elite of the elite. Now, you have some programs that maybe might have 12 players making $10,000. But you might have some programs that might not have anybody making anything because of where they're located. And the mid-majors have an opportunity to compete at the highest level with the big boys if they kind of get it done. I don't want to upset the amateur model, and I don't want to not give players, the elite guys, opportunities, to realize their dream. So I'm somewhere in the middle in that I want to do what's best for everybody. Everybody's not elite. Now, how do we make that work is a little of a moving target. If you got 3 players on the team, 5 players on the campus making $10,000, $15,000 a month, and you got 700 other athletes that are not in that same. What does that do for the chemistry of your team, the atmosphere? I don't know. And how do you structure this where you don't compromise the opportunities for those elite ones, and you also don't compromise what has been so very good for the amateurism in college sports. And I'm concerned that if we're going to be amateurs, are we going to be professionals? And maybe that's not a factor. But I don't know how that works. Now, are you aware of what the NCAA has done the last few years to allow kids to be given what they call the cost of attendance.
Yes, sir.
Cost of attendance.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So a kid at most places probably going to make $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 cost of attendance as part of his scholarship. The money they give you above, what they say the cost of attendance is.
Okay.
And those kids who on Pell Grant and also get cost of attendance, I mean, that's almost $1,000 a month that those guys get above their scholarship that's legal and legitimate. And so, it's not like guys don't have a way of going able to get a sandwich, go to a movie, to make it more like those students so they don't have to, so they still can realize their job, which is playing basketball. There's a misconception that millions of dollars are just flowing. Now, last I checked, which you might find hard to believe, there's only 19 schools in America, 19 or 20 schools that actually make money, that have a profit at the end of the season. You have 19, 20 sports on campus. Most of the football and basketball mostly pay the bill for those non-revenue sports, the scholarships, the travel, all the expenses, all the stuff that goes on there. So my point to you, that's what college athletics is about. That's what amateurism is about. Football and basketball basically makes the money to give other people opportunities, to participate as well. And you always hear the analogy, well, football packs the stadium. Well, everybody don't pack their stadium. And everybody don't have money flowing, like milk and honey. But that's not the case. Secondly, that $1 billion that the NCAA make at the NCAA tournament, that goes to pay for all the other championship sports as well. Tennis, golf. I mean, there's a massive amount of things that are going on that don't really meet the eye. Now I'm not trying. I said to you, I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
But I don't think that people are really informed about what's all going on because, schools that break even, they're happy if they break even. Most of the schools are subsidized by the university with the student activity money to help pay for some of what they spend in athletics. Now, how many times you go in the gym when it's half full? Most of them, But now everybody is not at the same level.
Got it.
Now, it needs a lot of discussion, and maybe what we need is not 380 some teams in the NCAA tournament. But I think that's good. I think that's good that Texas Southern can compete for the national title like everybody else. And I'm saying to you, the fact that all of them get a chance to participate, I think it's a good thing. But I think that everybody's somewhat selfish in that we all want what's best for us individually. And I said it earlier that I think we got to make decisions what's best for everybody and not necessarily cater to the elite and not necessarily forget the other people who are not in that situation. I just think that we need more conversation. I think there needs to be more dialogue. I think we need to bring more people to the table and let's see if this practical, can it be worked out? Let's have for instance, okay, how does this work? I mean, what does this look like? And does it mean that 2 or 3 schools in America would have every player on their team? So does that mean that now all the kids want to go to university at Big House with because everybody on their team is getting a $10,000 extra likeness contract with the local business, or do we? And then where the other kids saying, well, if you're going to school over here, we got room, board, and tuition, got your Pell Grant, but over here the school saying, hey, look, man, right now we can pay you $15,000 with the likeness. I mean, what is that like?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. I just know that we need more conversation, and I think we need more time to see if that's really, really good for everybody, because there's a lot of good going on at places now where kids are going to get an education. And I'm back to what I said earlier. Mm-hmm. It seems as though we are disrespecting the quality, the importance and the value of education, which at Florida State is about $250,000. And we confusing the amateurism with professionalism, and I don't know where all that's coming from. So I just think that we need to discuss it, and it seems like it's taken off with people who politically are using it as a platform, maybe to develop some interest. But I'm looking at it from a practical standpoint. And what is it like on my team if Trent Forrest is my best player, but helping us win, but Patrick Williams, because he's McDonald All-American, is getting all the money? I mean, what is that like? I mean, how does that work for what's best for amateurism and college sports? I don't know. And if you're a cross-country person and you're world class, and you're probably setting all kind of records, but you got a quarterback over here that's throwing touchdowns, and he's over here, but your numbers in your field are better as a cross-country person than a quarterback over here who now is getting his name in the paper. But the quarterback gets this, and you get nothing. I mean, how does that work?
And hey, well said, Coach. And I'm just going to remind you guys, Florida State men's basketball head coach Leonard Hamilton, right here, understand what he's done in this program in just recent years. For the third time in the past 4 seasons, Florida State began the season unranked. Unranked. That means it wasn't in the top, nobody's top 25. Not one, nobody's. For the 3 of the past 4 seasons. Once the season ended, in 3 of those 4 seasons, they were in the top 25. Understand something. This past season, they were unranked, finished at number 4, right? The season before that, they were unranked, finished number 10. And in 2017, they were unranked, finished number 16. Coach, you have a player that did not even start and is expected to be picked in the first round of the NBA draft. Is that true?
Yes, we think he's going to be a lottery pick. And I think...
Did in this year's draft?
Yes.
And he did not start?
No, last year, Fiondu Kapmagela was the first round draft pick, but he didn't start. But that doesn't necessarily mean they don't play starters minutes. See, like I said earlier, when you come into conferences like we have, I can't just do what everyone else is doing. I can't be like everybody else. I got to find a way to do things differently that gives me my best opportunity to win. And I came along in the era, of people like, you remember the Boston Celtics when John Havlicek came off the bench. Yeah. And I would really, really watch the NBA. And a lot of times they would have their best players coming in their second unit. The guys who were really, really, the guy microwave with Benny Johnson with Detroit. Yes. And you go through the history. I mean, like for instance, the Clippers right now have 2 guys coming off the bench, one averaging 17, and one averaging like 15. Yeah. So I wanted to say, now, when I come with my first wave, I need to have some firepower coming off the bench. So I craft my rotation where in the games on the line, I'm going to have my best players out there, but I want to have a system that gives me my best chance to win. Some people, we have gotten accustomed that it's an honor to be there when they tip the ball up. Well, that's not necessarily the case. The honor is winning, making sure that you win. So our formula work. Our guys understand that. I mean, I have guys who rather come off the bench. I have guys who are starting this year ask me to come out of the lineup. But my point to you, because we win by committee. We 18 strong. Everybody is important, from the walk-ons right to the starter. And so we vested into our culture, and they believe in that works. And it doesn't matter. Chris Kamaje played 14 minutes a game, and he's on the D League with Philadelphia, and he's probably going to be brought up and going to be in the league for about 10 or 12 years. He played 14 minutes a game for me, but he was prepared. He's ready. He finishes. And in high school, he didn't get in half of the games. But I saw something in him that I thought that we could develop and make it useful for us. So I'm going against the grain. We do things a little different, but at the end of the day, our kids are graduating. Those who have the ability of going on to the league, hopefully we're competing at a high level in our league, and our guys understand. But we are so married to how it used to be. If I coach like how it used to be, I'm not real sure I could win, because we are different, because we do play a full complement of players, because our system is fast-paced both ways, because our guys have bought into our system. It works for us, and our guys understand it, and they're not compromised by having the opportunity to go play in the NBA, those guys with the ability, and our guys see it as an advantage.
Coach, I see and I know we're going to have to wrap up. We don't want to keep you all day. But, Coach,
I'm good.
I see some unique, Coach, and let me show you how, and our viewers, how this legacy thing works, Coach. I'm sitting there listening to you the whole time, and we didn't bring this up. Coach, you were the first black assistant at Kentucky, right?
Yes.
Okay. Check this out, ladies and gentlemen. I just told everybody about the people you recruited at Kentucky. You were great at that job. You were so great at that job. When you left, Kentucky said, I got to get me another like that. So they hired Dwayne Casey. Am I right? Did he come behind you?
Yes.
Dwayne Casey, I'm just show you our legacy. I'm show you about Coach's legacy. He does such a great job that those folks at Kentucky said, we got to get us another one like this. You know how they was thinking. Coach, you ain't got to say nothing. So hold on, Coach. So after Dwayne Casey, they run into little trouble with the Chris Mills thing, and he got a 20-year ban. He left. Coach, they brought in Tubby Smith. Coach, after that, hold on, Coach, your legacy, you paved the way for Tubby too. So guess what? When Tubby come in, Tubby wins a championship. I don't care who players he had. He came in and won a championship. So, Coach, in the knock, hold up, y'all. You were a great recruiter, but the knock was on Tubby he wasn't a great recruiter. Coach, then you go to Miami and just save them. Coach, let me tell you something, man. A lot of people don't know that stuff, man. I had to get it out right there in front of you. If you don't do what you do, I know you so humble, but and I know it's divine providence. But Coach, if you don't do the job you do, it might not open up the floodgate or the possibility. Well, we ain't gonna get none of them no more. We ain't gonna get no more black coaches. Thank you, Coach, from the bottom of the Chop Shop's heart, from the bottom of my heart. Great job, Doc. So,
but
Jimmy,
what you guys got to understand though, John Thompson, George Raveling, John Chaney, Nolan Richardson, those guys paved the way, and they created the opportunity to open up the doors. Now, it's interesting. We as African American coaches, we've had great jobs.
Okay.
Now we've had Boston College, St. John's, Rutgers, Seton Hall,
Temple.
Maryland, Drexel, Massachusetts, Virginia, North Carolina State, Georgia Tech, Auburn, Alabama, Kentucky, Ohio State, Michigan, UCLA, Georgia Tech, I missed one, Miami, FAU, FIU, South Florida, and we were all fired.
Yeah.
Now, what's it? See, we talk about the lack of. So what's going on? I mean, what is it that is allowed? And I'm talking about really, really good coaches. Really good coaches. And, we have a tendency sometimes to, I don't know how to put it, because I'm not trying to get on a racist soapbox.
Go. Somehow
or another, we've had some opportunities, but it seems as though we don't trust each other. And there's something, To be honest with you, I'm not one to want to give opinions because I think we all got them. But it might be a good idea for you guys to talk to some of the coaches, the high school coaches, AAU people, and find out what they say, because I have no answer. I don't know why. All I know, I think the reason we've been successful is what my daddy told me when I was 10 years old. Mm-hmm. Don't let nobody outwork you. Don't make no excuses, because nobody cares. And so I've been fortunate enough, and then I also think I've had some divine intervention. I think my steps have been ordered. I think I've been put in position to
keep going, Coach. You just froze up on me. They don't want us to hear this, Coach.
Yeah, that's and of course he just froze up a little bit. Somebody calling his phone.
Oh, that's right.
Great convo with Coach Leonard Hamilton, guys. I mean, this is a classic episode of the Chop Shop, and understand this is why we ask you guys to share the show.
Yes, sir.
And to your timelines. If you're in one of those basketball groups, on Facebook or YouTube, share it with the group. I mean, understand, everybody isn't aware that the Chop Shop is taking place, or this convo. This is nothing else. This not only has been educational, it's been informative, it's been historical, and enlightening from all angles of the square. And then he tapped into the spiritual aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And I remember one of the viewers on the Facebook feed in the Boomer Room says to him, he types up earlier, he says he used to watch Florida State play all the time and always thought Coach Hamilton was mad. And he used to always ask, why is this coach so mad? This is why he said, why is the coach so mad? And now he says, now I understand. Coach ain't mad. Coach he got some stuff that he done been through. That's his game face.
Somebody call you, Coach?
No, I tell you what happened.
That was the compliance people. They say, man, get out there. You talking about the name, image, likeness stuff.
No, my battery just went dead. I had to connect it. Hey, you got
Erica Badu on us, Hannah.
Wore me out. But what I was saying is, though, I think we all have opinions, and we have a tendency to want to say how I feel. See, if I have never walked in a mile in a man's shoes, I'm not real sure I'm qualified. You know what I mean? But we all want to talk about what we think is best for people in their profession. So I don't know. We've had a lot of opportunities, and I do believe that maybe there's a possibility we could be better prepared in some cases. Okay, but we've had some really, really good jobs, and for whatever reason, we haven't been successful. And I really think maybe it would help you guys maybe to call some people who have gone through those things and ask them if they did it, what would they have done better, and then what were the challenges that they felt that they had going through that. Now, I have my own opinion about some of those things, but I think that I'd be narrow in my evaluation to try to say one thing or another. Now, I want to say this before I get off the air.
Yes, sir.
Along those lines, whenever there seems to be an issue in college basketball or in athletics, we all form a committee to address it. Would we say that's correct?
Yes, sir.
When the academic thing, the social thing,
yes, sir.
We had this committee issue. We had this issue with what happened a couple of summers ago, and we keep forming these committees because that means that it's important. We find somebody that's important, put them on the head of the committee, and they start working on these issues. Now, I don't know, have they or have they not? So I don't want to make an indictment stating for the NCAA and how they approach things. But have you guys ever heard of a committee that they formed to address this disparity between college coaches and basketball? Have y'all ever heard of that?
No, sir.
I mean, have y'all? I could have missed something.
No, sir.
So what I'm saying to you, at some point, to ask me why and what I think. And I heard you guys say earlier that you're not the president, you're not the AD,
Yes, sir.
and we can't indict everybody there because
Right.
what I said to you earlier, we've had some guys with some opportunity.
Jonas, yeah. Yeah.
So my point to you, and if you sitting over here, are you saying, you know, you didn't get, why didn't you get it done? I don't know what that answer is,
That's
but
good.
I think we need to have dialogue. We need to talk about it, and so maybe that's some research we can do. Why is it we have not been as successful? Has it been the players? I mean, what has it been? I mean,
Good point.
and you know, I've been fortunate. I think I've had a hedge of protection around me. You know
Yes,
what I
sir.
mean?
Yes, sir.
And I know we've worked hard and we've done a pretty good job of what we've done. But that can't be the case. It's got to be other guys who worked hard too.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
got to be other guys. So how are we gonna how are we gonna find that answer? You guys got the platform by which you can address it and not have Leonard Hamilton making his opinion,
Yes, sir.
not indicting someone because the opportunity hasn't been available, not indicting the high schools or the AAU people why you haven't sent anybody to these players. I mean, what is it? We have never had a committee, and it's a moving target, and I'm really concerned because I think if African Americans can play it, and it ain't like we don't know anything about it. It's a problem that need to be addressed. For instance, the likeness and stuff showed up.
Yes, sir.
How many committees we got on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just saying to you,
Yeah.
whenever it's important, we find a way to address it. And so it's a moving target for as I'm concerned. And I'm not trying to throw any hot coals on anybody,
No.
but it has to be a solution somewhere.
I got it, Coach.
I mean, indeed, and I see where you're going with it, Coach.
Me too.
And we're definitely going to take up and keep the baton in motion for that. And I can't wait until I'm in front of some of the people because I'm going to question what the non-existence of such a committee when I'm face to face with some of the NCAA people this coming fall. Now, I want to ask you, you spoke earlier about John Thompson, George Raveling, or just two of the
John Chaney, Nolan Richardson, those guys laid the path there, and you can go a little further back with some of the other guys that really were pioneers as well.
Clarence Gaines and all those guys.
Yes, absolutely.
You actually won the Big House Gaines Coach of the Year award a year or so ago. Now we have for you. One, actually, Coach George Raveling has texted me a question to present to you on the Chop Shop, and so you don't know who's watching. And so this question is: first, wants you to share your experience as the head coach of the Washington Wizards. Secondly, tell us about your relationship. I know you've watched The Last Dance. You've been watching that, catching up probably on some of the episodes. What's your relationship with Michael Jordan?
I have a tremendous amount of respect for Michael. He gave me an opportunity to coach the Wizards, and it was such a wonderful learning experience for me to know really how to prepare my players better by going and being involved in that situation. That was a challenging period there with the Wizards being $40-50 million over the salary cap, and Michael coming in trying to revive that program. And I think that he did a magnificent job, but it became a point that he felt that he needed to come back and play to increase the value of the franchise. We only won 19 games that year. We wasn't very. I think the talent level of that program spoke for itself. And I just appreciate that opportunity. And when Michael wanted to come back and play, he wanted to hire Doug Collins, who had been his coach for him in Chicago Bulls. And I thought that was a wonderful idea. But I will. That was such a valuable experience for me that I'll never forget. And Coach Ravlin was part of talking to me about encouraging me to take that opportunity, and I really, really appreciate it. And you know, whenever Michael has needed information from me, he always had my phone number. When he drafted Bacon, he drafted Dwayne Bacon.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, he and I communicated quite a bit. I've had guys off my staff that's worked for him there, and when I've seen him in different places, we've had conversations. I got a tremendous amount of respect for the job that he's done, and it's not easy building a franchise, and that is one of the, and for him to build that, to have that franchise and keep building that thing up in Charlotte, his home state. I think that I'm expecting them at some point in time to cut some nets down. You know what I mean? I really am, because he's so driven, he's so determined in the attitude that you see him displaying as a player. He brings that same level of competitiveness into his corporate world as well, and he's destined to be successful.
And man, and Coach, thanks so much for gracing the airwaves with your presence on the Chop Shop today. We got coaches from all over the country that are watching right now, and a lot of you guys, although you may not see them on the timeline, trust me, they're watching. Everybody doesn't want to watch and let you know that they're there. And we want to also give a shout out. Of course, you mentioned earlier, but I feel remiss if I don't mention them again. I mean, Stan, Coach Jones, of course, your associate head coach, CY. You know, a lot of people, trust me, around the country knows Coach Charlton Young, and also my guy Steve Smith from over, just recently was at Clemson. He's on the staff as well. You have an all-star staff over there with plenty of.
I can't tell you how happy I am with my staff. There's no question. Every one of those guys will be a head coach. They will have their own program. Stan's been like a brother to me for all these years. CY, I recruited out of high school. He turned me down. I let him know that every once in a while. Coach Smith, he replaced Dennis Gates. Dennis has those big shoes to fill, and he stepped right on in there. I can't tell you the quality of my staff and what they do for the young men. And I can't say enough about those. I do want to say this before we get off the air. We got some difficult times going on now.
Yes, sir.
With the virus, and I'm going to encourage the families, the high school students, the AAU coaches, the high school coaches, and well as the college coaches. We got to be careful now. We don't need to take this stuff for granted, because it's a moving target, and this virus is not prejudiced now. It's going to hit any and everybody who's in his way. I want to encourage people to practice social distancing, wash our hands, try to avoid all those crowded areas, because this thing, it seems as though it's kind of up and down, up and down. There's never been a situation like this that didn't have a reoccurrence in some way, shape, or form. And I'm really nervous about what to do this summer. I don't know what I would do if my child was playing. I'd be really concerned about traveling on planes and buses and hotels, packed gyms with people from all over the place. I don't know what that's like, and I'm concerned. It's like I was for my players. When we got on that bus to go play that first game, I was more concerned about their safety and their well-being and their careers and their futures than I was about us going and playing this particular game. I don't know what's going to happen, but I would tell people to proceed with caution, use wisdom, patience. Don't make knee-jerk reactions. somehow or another this is going to work itself out. I don't know what the NCAA is going to do. I don't know what the AAU system is going to do. You mentioned earlier that oh my God,
college.
My wife just walked in here.
Oh yeah,
with some food, fella. So I ain't got a whole lot more time. I'm working with the Top Shop, but it's Chop Shop.
Yes, sir.
In Houston, Texas.
She brings
right
chops.
Yeah, I would put her on the air for you, but she might fire me, so can't do that.
Hey,
huh?
Yeah, I mean, thanks so much, man.
Thank you,
got to go. We appreciate everything. I mean, once again, man, we embrace you.
Yes, sir.
We love everything that you stand for basketball on all levels. Keep doing what you're doing. You have picked up a ton of fans,
yes, sir.
New followers, as far as and you've inspired many today with your voice. And that's
I wish y'all tell my wife that, okay? I wish y'all tell my wife that. I'm gonna have her tape that so she'll know that I'm a pretty good guy, okay?
Yeah.
Appreciate that, man. Thanks so much. Hey guys, you know what time is? It's time to slide on down Dino's back and yabba dabba doo this thing on this Tuesday. We got a special guys coming up tomorrow. We have a very special Wednesday coming on the Chop Shop. We're going to let you guys get to see 4 of our former interns, all which will have a college degree by the end of 2020. We're going to let you see them. You're going to learn about their journeys. And then also we're going to give you intel on how we will take and I guess interview and pick up another couple of interns for the rest of the summer. They will be working satellite, not with us in location. So make sure you tune in tomorrow on the show. And on Thursday, we will take it back to some grassroots basketball. We're going to have about 2 or 3 grassroots program directors to join us, and we'll release those details on tomorrow. But meanwhile, you guys be safe out there. As Coach Hamilton just told you guys, be safe. And also, it's time for all of us to go get some grub. Coach got that. I can smell the food coming through the camp. Like, hey, as you see, Coach, let everybody know I got my Florida State. I'm decked from. Hey, they ain't no greater fan than me right now. I'm telling you. Y'all be cool, guys. Peace. Chop shop.
See y'all later. Bye, Coach. I'm getting you out of there, Coach.
Jim Hicks, Rob Hatter. You are now tuned in to the Chop Shop. I'm Retro. Let's get it. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop.